Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are. Welcome to the show today. So our show today is called 2025, the Year of the Retainer. And for those of you who've been with us before, welcome back. For those who are joining us today, welcome. Some of you may notice that this is not James O'Brien, who sat with me. So James O'Brien is I think, 35,000 feet in the air as we speak. But I am joined today by the one and only Plowman Ivanoff. How are you doing today, Plowman?
Very well, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, do you know what? I think this is going to be such a good show. We've got loads of people watching. We will make sure that we stick the recording on after we've finished as well. So let me give you a bit of an introduction to those who don't know Plowman. So Plowman is co-founder and executive chairman of iIntro. But he's also co-founder and executive chairman of Grass Greener, which is a specialist retained recruitment firm. And Plowman's career in recruitment goes way back. 2007, I think Grass Greener was launched, fully contingent, so 100% contingent at the time. 3 years later, so in 2010, the business began the process of shifting from being 100% contingent to 100% retained. And in the process of doing so, and you know, rightfully so, I think, how long did it take you to get to 100% retained, Plowman?
About 18 months, Joe.
Yeah, so it wasn't overnight. It did take a little while, but so 18 months later, the business was then 100% retained, doubling the value of their fees, and in doing so as well, increasing the efficiency and the productivity of the team. 2014, iIntro was launched. And since 2014, iIntro have worked with 350 recruitment firms in 12 different countries in pretty much every vertical market, I think, and a proven track record of helping businesses to do the same thing that you did all those years ago. So that's why we've got Plowman on today. 2024 has been a tough year. Many recruiters have come through a challenging 2024, now stronger. But it's now time to take some steps so that we can hit the ground running in 2025. So things we're going to talk about today. We're going to learn why employers willingly will pay higher fees to retain consultants. We're going to talk a bit about why recruiters need to transition away from their transactional value proposition. And then Plowman's going to give us some observations into the market and some hints and tips onto things that we can do as businesses in 2025 to become more productive and perform at a higher level. Plowman, I'm going to bring you in a second to kick us off with your sort of general observations, I think, of the market at the moment. Before I do that, I know we've got a lot of people who are watching this who are probably going to have questions as we go through. So if you have got any questions or there's anything you agree with that Plowman's saying, we would love your comments in the section and I'll read those out as we go. So welcome, Plowman, to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's important, by the way, for us to get some feedback. So by all means, if you feel comfortable with that, if you like something or dislike something, please indicate it with on the chat, as well as just give us the thumbs up if there is anything that you like, is something that you appreciate. So where do we start? As Joe said, I go back to 2007 when we started business in recruitment. My background was not in recruitment. I've built and sold a couple of businesses in the past, but I was invited by my colleague, friend, and a son-in-law to be at the time to have a look at recruitment. And with my experience in business, I thought of like the idea. And we've started Grass Greener in March 2007. Fast forward a little bit. 3 years later, I'm not operationally involved in the business. I was just as a strategic advisor, investor, and perhaps just giving general guidance. We're working on a contingency basis. And in 2009, I exited my last business. So the first thing that I did is firstly said, well, let's see how we can help Grass Greener to do better. And when we evaluated the service proposition, I've identified a number of things that could have been improved. So we started the journey. The main challenge that we believe is shared throughout the recruitment industry is that in the psyche of an employer, a recruiter, the recruiter's job is identifying per se 3 potentially suitable candidates for a role that they have a need for. And that was the transaction. So if you actually strip the noise and what we really do behind that, that's still the case. Mm-hmm. Most employers expect recruiters to go out and find a number of potentially suitable candidates. Now, when they engage like that in the marketplace with 90% competition doing exactly the same thing, the challenge becomes, number one, is that you don't have a unique service proposition. As a consequence of that, you don't get paid the rate that you'd like to get paid. You get paid the going rate. And thirdly, because you're competing with a large number of other recruiters that are pushing for the same job, ultimately, your chances of filling this role are dramatically reduced. Plus also, there is another big competition that's rising, and it will continue to rise with a dramatic impact on the transactional recruitment service, and that's artificial intelligence, machine learning, and technologies that have become widely available to employers to do exactly the same thing as what recruiters are typically doing. I know we could say that it's a personal touch business, we have a network, we know the marketplace, etc., but that's frankly speaking old hat. Technology is coming and it will continue to come and rapidly increase the competition. So what do? Well, there is 2 directions that the recruitment industry, in my opinion, will go. Has been going for quite some time. The first direction is you adopt as much technology as possible and you continue to deliver on the basis of speed and price. Mm-hmm. But that has a limit. And especially with new technologies coming in the marketplace, it will become harder and harder to compete with the technology, which, in all honesty, we're all using to identify the same candidates. So that's the challenge, and that's the one direction. Now, that's still going to be in a very competitive environment. So what do you do different? Well, I'll tell you what we've done. Since 2012, we've created a service proposition. It's now well known as iIntro, that extends the service beyond candidate identification. In simple words, we're using 3-dimensional, scientifically based assessment processes that represent the added value. But in a way, how we position this service is what we say to clients is, by the way, if you wish to drop the word recruiter, it might not be a bad idea. You need to elevate your service to becoming a management consultant in talent acquisition. And when you offer your service, this service needs to cover 3 distinct points. You need to do the work instead of the client. You need to do it better than the client. And you need to do it in a more cost-effective way than the client. Mm-hmm. And it's not only just to say it, we need to be able to quantifiably demonstrate it to the client. And that's what we've actually come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon, I'm going to stop you there for a second. There's loads of points that you've raised that I want to come back on. I think what's really interesting is what you said right at the very beginning, how in 2007 you came into the world of recruitment, and what I think is really interesting is as an outsider looking in, over the next 2 years, it's obviously very obvious to you at that point that why are we working in a contingent way? Why are we working in huge amounts of competition with very little commitment amongst all these other recruiters where there's absolutely no differentiator whatsoever? So I find that really interesting. So I suppose really for you coming in, it must have looked quite confusing coming from, a different industry altogether.
Well, any professional organization, if you think of it, accountants, solicitors, and any other professional advisory service is done on the basis of an engagement. People pay for the service rather than doing the work for free and hoping that you'll get paid at the end. So that's one challenge. But if you just think of it, the underlying reason behind contingent or retained is actually the service that the clients receive. If you're delivering service that's typically delivered by many other organizations that compete directly with you, then you've got no edge. And you need to take the going rate and you need to participate in the marketplace as best as you can. Whilst if you're offering a service that's unique in a way and it's offered beyond what typically everybody else is doing, it becomes unique so you can control the engagement. Once again, I underline the point. You need to be able to evidence to the client rather than just dressing it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is probably where, as an industry, we've maybe got a little bit confused and stuck. How do we demonstrate quantifiably the value that we add to clients? Because it's conceptual what we do. It's the concept of improvement. It's just the only tangible thing you present to a client really is a candidate, aka
Correct,
a CV.
yeah.
So in a way, as an industry, I think we've become very obsessed with CVs because it's about the only thing that we can produce to show the client this is what we do. But it does make it a very front end transactional piece of paper based transaction, I suppose, that we go through with the client. And you said that earlier on. So you said that our service proposition needs to extend past just candidate identification. Could you just elaborate on that a bit? Because that's
Absolutely.
a really interesting point.
So once again, going back to referring to contingency recruitment or transactional recruitment, very simply, we know that there is a job. We need to go to the market and identify as quickly as possible potentially suitable candidates and deliver them to the client. And that basically is the transaction. Now, interestingly, employers are equally complicit in the failure within the recruitment industry. The reason being is that they're expecting nothing else but that. Now, if you think of it, if the employer says that's what I want, the choice is, do I just go along with it and do what everybody else is doing, or do I actually challenge the value of this service and show the client in a quantifiable way that there is a better way that will ultimately increase the accuracy of selection, decrease their overall time. And by saying decreasing the overall time, that doesn't mean that you do the job much faster. You do it instead of the client. That's where the value or the saving in time is. So all these assessments, all this work that needs to be done between the client and the candidate, you do instead of the client. And that's behavioral competency assessments, various other things. And also you need to have nice enabling tools to be able to deliver that one to the client in a transparent way, typically a software. And we've got a very, very good software that does exactly that. But if you just think of it once again, going to the point, where is the value for the client? And I'll try and outline it in generic terms. When you do better assessments, the likelihood of hiring the right person increases dramatically. And using our own experience, not just the grass green experience, but overall the iIntro community that is using the same methodology and process, we deliver consistently 96% retention over a period of 12 months, in excess of 96%. And that, by the way, is a data sample with over 7,000 rows being placed using the same method and process. So how does that benefit the client? It benefits it because with a higher retention, the likelihood of churn that has consequential material damage to the client, never mind the time and everything else that's involved in it, to having to re-recruit the same job over and over again, ultimately results in money saving. And our positioning of the service is starting with what we call the bad hire calculator that enables the client to quantifiably see what happens if they continue to recruit the way they do. With a typical attrition rate in the UK is known, it's about 20 to 30%. That's in the period of 12 months, as opposed to the iIntro solution that delivers in excess of 96% retention. So the failure rate using the iIntro methodology is only 4%. And once again, it's a substantial data sample that we're using to evidence that to clients.
Yeah. And then that extends past the 12-month period as well, doesn't it? So we sort of place a marker on 2 years and beyond as well. From a retention perspective. I think what's interesting is, particularly, when you sort of listen to what's going on in social media, I think sometimes retainers get a bit of a sort of a skewed perception. When we talk about retainers, we use the word retainer really as the topic to discuss all of this, isn't it? So a retainer is much more than just asking for money up front.
Absolutely.
It has to start with the service offering. It's just that the retainer is the way in which, as a recruiter, that then makes sense for you to do that because of this insane high value service that you're providing to the client.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we sort of get that the wrong way around. People talk about retainer first, which I think is hard.
Well, absolutely. As I said, a retainer is actually a byproduct of the service solution.
Yeah.
A retainer becomes something that you put in place simply because, in order for you to do the job the way you're proposing to do, to give the risk reversals to the clients. And by the way, in a controversial manner, I'd like to say that most of our clients using iIntro offer up to 12 months free replacement. And my own recruitment firm, Grass Greener, offers up to 24 months free replacement. Obviously, we don't give it away, but that's a great underlying value for you to be able to say to the client, in order for me to do that, I need to be engaged. And secondly, I need to charge a higher fee simply because I'm giving you a risk reversal, which very few recruitment firms will actually offer. And just to mention, by the way, a few days ago, I've come across a posting from a well-known individual, not in the recruitment industry, but an influencer, Stephen Bartlett. And Stephen Bartlett was recorded, by the way, a conversation with someone, and they're saying transactional recruitment is broken. So people like that are not in the recruitment industry are starting to acknowledge the fact that this is actually not working and it has to change. And the change really needs to be in the direction of offering additional assessment and selection to ensure that the actual appointments happen with a very high level of probability of success. And success in recruitment is, genuinely speaking, only one. If you've had the right person that stays with the employer a longer term and continues to deliver value. And we managed to actually do that.
Yeah. If I could just stop you there for a second, Plumman, there's some great comments coming through, and you'll notice we've popped a banner up there as well. So Rob Johnson, brilliant, thank you. He's saying I already offer up to 12 months free replacement. That's fantastic.
Brilliant.
And Susie's actually saying over 12 months. So what about over 3 years? So the data analysis and, free replacement. So you just sort of said there that Grass Greener offer a 2-year free replacement, which maybe some people are thinking, God, that's suicide. But you only offer that because you can, because the people that you guys place don't leave. But not only that, perform at a level that, creates value for the client and means that the candidate is happy as well.
It's simple. By the way, Susie, well done. In my experience, I only know 3 of our clients that are offering more than 12 months replacement. I have a client in the US that offers between 24 and 36 months free replacement, but he's actually taken a snapshot of their own retention and have identified that theirs is 94% over a period of 4 years. Now, a point of caution here, the more senior the role is, the more likely that the match is going to be even more perfect and vested. Now, less senior roles, there is a natural churn, but achieving 12 months replacement within a period of, achieving 96% retention within a period of 12 months across the board is fairly good value, and hence the reason why we're offering. So well done, Susie, and Rob, well done to you as well. Very few. By the way, if you think of it, and there you go, Patty Opensky saying exactly the same thing, 1 year, 12 replacement. Brilliant. So think of it. The market is already shifting, and most people are basically taking the decision to offer extended replacement on the basis of the fact that, in their own opinion, people stay. Now, ours is more underwritten by science, using the processes that we use in iIntro, i.e. behavioral and competency assessments, aligning the corporate culture and the unit culture within the candidates that are hired is an essential part of our service solution. And I would encourage everybody to consider exploring behavioral profiling or key competency assessments as part of the work that you do on behalf of the client. Now, think of the impact. If you've been able to offer a long-term replacement, that's basically a given simply because of the maths. If I've got 96%, of my chances of having to replace is actually only 4%. And I'm actually able to offer this one, but reverse it with potentially a higher fee, because my offer of 12 months replacement enables me to demand higher fees. The clients see it. It's logical, common sense. They're offering me more than what I'm getting elsewhere. So just some food for thought for everybody.
Absolutely. There's some really great comments coming in.
Thank you.
I do sometimes think that this is quite challenging for us, I think, to get our heads around whenever we, bring clients on, whenever we do training. We run loads of training programs on this. And being able to wrangle with your own identity as a recruitment business, having conditioned ourselves and our industry to work in a contingent way for so many years, it can be really difficult to get your head around it. It's like, learning to ride a bicycle, and then there's something called the backwards bicycle challenge, if anyone's ever seen that, and they put the handlebars on the other way round, and it takes your brain so long to unlearn because you've conditioned it over a period of time. And so I think that sometimes this raises more questions than it answers. If anyone is interested in talking about this with us, talking to us about your business and your current business model, we're very happy to do that. There was a banner that came up before. There we go, as if by magic. There was another one. So you can always book a call with our team, either myself, James O'Brien, or of course Plarman, and we'd love to have a conversation with you, because we realise that this is not a one-size-fits-all model. Everybody's model is different. The other thing that I think is interesting, and I want to talk about choice in a minute, Plarman, because you're very big on businesses choosing how they want to work and how they want to be presented in the market. But also, I think we always think about retainers as being a very fixed model, don't we? You've got to offer 12 months or 6 months. It's got to be 30%. It's got to be 3 installments. But actually, the idea of providing your service to a client that can be fluid. And then the model that you offer the client can be very fluid as well. A retainer doesn't have to be the same for every single person, does it?
Absolutely. You're making a very good point, Joe. And as part of our service solution, we coach people how to actually negotiate retainer fees. It doesn't have to necessarily be a third, and a third, which is the typical way of engagement. But getting the client to commit is the angle here. So if you're offering a service that naturally demands more input from you, it is only reasonable to ask for some sort of engagement. Now, there is, in the US, it's very popular to take what we call containers, i.e., you don't get paid third, and a third, but taking some cash upfront, and then the rest is on completion, just to help the client, ease the client into the process. What we also do, by the way, is when we pitch our service, we typically pitch for partnership, extending the service beyond just one job or one fix. And this starts with a strategy planning meeting, and ultimately the services would like you to try it with one or two roles to start with. And if you then like it, we'll then agree a format, which is what we call managed service provider contracts, whether it could be a project, whether it could be an engagement with a client. But just think of it for a moment. By offering a service that's unique to the marketplace, which you can evidence, essentially, when you actually engage with a client like that, using alongside the strategy that the client's adopted, and you're serving their purpose, essentially, you're locking the competition out. That's extremely important. The average lifetime value of a client in my own recruitment firm is over 4.5 years. And that gives you predictability of revenue. So if you've engaged with a client and you've done, say, $50,000 or $100,000 or pounds of business in the first year, I know that on the basis of our assumptions that we've got or ratios that we know happen, I can predictably expect the business to repeat in the next 4.5 years, and beyond even. And that's another thing that we talk about. How do you move a prospect into a customer? And the customer is typically when they've given you one role, then into a client when they're giving you more than one role, ultimately in what we call an advocate. An advocate is a client that will not move anywhere else, and they'll use you as an advisor. And essentially, they'll be coming to you because they trust you with what you've done for them. Genuine partnerships is what you're after. Winning, you don't have to do 100 clients. If you just get 10 clients to start with, or possibly 20 clients later on, ultimately, you've got a business for life. And that's predictable in revenue and commitment. So I just want to say one more thing because it's important. Why 2025 is so relevant? For two reasons. People that remain in business doing transactional recruitment will eventually suffer and go out of business. And I'm saying this one with caution because I want you to think of it. Progress is here and it's not going to go away. Technology is going to take over the jobs of simple transactional recruitment because that's what they do. And it's inevitable that technology will substitute that sort of service. Bigger firms are already building in-house teams supported by technology that do the same candidate identification that most recruiters do. Now, not everybody can do it. If you think of it, 80% of the recruitment industry and the clients that they serve are smaller SMEs or smaller businesses, so they don't have the capacity to invest in building in-house teams. So the service in 2025 of offering a partnership with clients and starting to win projects or working closer with a client in the long term is what is going to make a difference. Now, next year, we've got a great opportunity because I'm of the opinion that the market will recover quite well in 2025. And the choice that people need to make is, do I continue to struggle along with a very competitive market, or do I step out of this box, so to speak, and go into the realm of the 10%? The service that will remain there, clients will buy and pay more money for your service because of the fact that you're offering a unique partnership proposition instead of the client, better than the client, in a more cost-effective way than the client.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. Just to summarize a couple of points there that you just said, and I know that Mike's brought it up here, so I just want to read out a couple of the comments. We're kind of running out of time, and then Plan, I'm going to come back to you for your closing thoughts. So Mike, I think, and Mary have been talking about refunds. So we don't do refunds here. We always talk about replacements, and again, that kind of goes back to the fact that, think about the primary objective of the business. It is to get the right person in the business. Yes. So that they can grow their business. It's not really about the money. So I think free replacement. Patty's saying that they find negotiating on fees can get a bit muddled. They tend to keep the fee structure the same. Again, I agree. I think transparency is key. There was a question up here. So Susie was saying profiling for all levels of candidates. I think this is really interesting. So when you transition from contingent to retained, you didn't switch the contingent tap off, did you? And then have a drought and until the retainer tap was on. You've got to go through a period of sort of lifting away from contingent over to retained, and that's about choosing the right clients. Not every job is going to be a fillable job, and we choose the ones that we work on based on the client and the commitment and the role and the level of service and the value that we can add. And again, I think we need to treat that on a case-by-case basis. It's just that as you start to peel away from transactional and into retained, you naturally just start to attract a better level of client to you, don't you? So naturally, you will just move from contingent over into retained. So I'd like you to comment on that. And the second thing I want to comment on is about the service that we offer, because recruiters are still very sort of front end focused about the delivery of a short list as fast as physically possible. Yeah. Whereas we're talking about what sort of mid and long term benefits can you bring to a business by providing an excellent service. So streamlining recruitment process, reducing the overall cost of hiring, improving retention to 96%. None of that has really got to do with sending, delivering shortlists faster, has it? So if you were to give some tips to businesses, things that they can start to think about now for 2025 to start positioning themselves for higher fees, more retained, committed business, what would that be? To put you on the spot.
Change, let go, step out of the box, start thinking differently. And I always quote this one here. It is in the moment of stillness when genius is born. We need to stop for a moment from the daily hustle and doing the job, and start thinking strategically. What do I need to do, and what does this need to look like? So the client's starting to look at me as a unique service provider, a partner, as opposed to someone that does the transactional supply that the clients need to fix their need at this moment in time. That's the key. You need to become more strategic in client engagement. Now, with regard to some direct information that is available, I would recommend, if people want to have a look at a very educational video, it's a 6-minute video that exists on the Grass Greener website. So if you search grassgreener.co.uk, grassgreener.co.uk, and you go to our process, there is a 6-minute video that is basically educating the employer why they should do it and what the service represents. If someone can put it into the chat box, that would be brilliant.
Yeah. So as soon as we finish today, I'll pop that into the chat. We've had loads of comments. We're going to come back on each of these as well, myself and Plarman. So we'll carry the conversation on after the session. We are wildly out of time. We knew we should have booked more time. We were discussing this, weren't we, Plarman? We were like, we're going to need at least 45 minutes. But anyhow, we are out of time. I love what you said. The closing sort of thoughts there, and Christmas is a great time to do it. You know, pause, reflect, and then reset. Thinking about that unique service provision, thinking about being a valuable partner. And you know what, if you don't know what that looks like, go and ask your clients, go and ask businesses, ask 25 businesses what massive value recruiters could add, and then maybe use that to, you know, set your stall out. So thank you very much, Joe. Thank you so much. He's just popped the link to the chat. So thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate that. We've got a pause ourselves now for a couple of weeks, and then we're back. Our final show of the year is going to be on the 17th of December. We're going to have a special guest. All will be revealed over the next couple of days. Please do come and connect with myself and Plarman. We're probably going to come and connect with you all anyway. It'd be great to just, you know, get some feedback from you guys and start a conversation. Plarman, as always, A, could have talked to you for forever. B, thank you for taking the time to come and speak to us today.
Thank you. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll personally respond to each and every one of you. And also, I'd strongly urge you, if you just want to find out what we do different, just book a call through the link that disappeared a moment ago. But that's my suggestion. There you go.
There we are. Oh, magical. Brilliant. Thank you, Plarman. As always, it's been a joy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.